Here's a number that surprised me when I first ran it. A HELOC at 10% can end up costing you exactly as much as a personal loan at 16%. Same amount of debt, same 5-year payoff goal. Why doesn't the one with the lower interest rate win? That doesn't make sense. 10% is significantly less than 16%. How is that even possible? If you're carrying credit card debt right now, you're probably looking into a home equity line of credit, or HELOC, as a way to consolidate it. The rate looks great on paper. Today we're going to break down exactly how that lower rate can quietly turn into a much bigger bill, and how to avoid falling into that trap if you decide a HELOC is still right for you. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to compare a HELOC and an unsecured personal loan the right way, not just by looking at the headline rate. Let's start with why HELOC rates are lower than personal loan rates to begin with. When you take out a HELOC, you're putting up your house as collateral. If you stop paying, the lender can eventually foreclose and recover what they're owed. It's like your home is co-signing on the loan with you. If you fail to repay, it steps in and covers the loan. That means the loan is less risky to the lender, and when the lender's risk goes down, so does your rate. Right now, HELOCs are averaging somewhere around 7.5 to 10%. Unsecured personal loans for good to excellent credit are typically running between 12 and 19%. Credit cards which have no collateral backing them at all average 20 to 24%. So the pattern is simple. Less risk to the lender means lower rates for you. That part makes sense. But that lower rate comes with a catch, and it's the catch most people skip right over. Here's where things get interesting. Most HELOCs are structured as interest only during what's called the draw period. That period typically runs 5 to 10 years, and on some HELOCs it can stretch to 15 years. During that entire stretch, your minimum required payment covers interest only. Your principal balance does not go down unless you choose to pay more than the minimum. Compare that to a credit card minimum payment. Even that minimum usually includes at least 1% towards your principal. A HELOC's minimum, in the most common form, doesn't even do that much. So picture this. You consolidate your credit card debt into a HELOC at 10%. Your personal loan alternative would have been 16%. On paper, the HELOC looks like the obvious winner. You start making the minimum interest-only payments for a while because you're focused on stabilizing your finances. 4 years goes by. Then you get serious, get aggressive, and pay it off over the next 12 months. In both scenarios, you pay the debt off in 5 years. Here's the problem. Your interest cost is calculated on your outstanding balance. Since your HELOC balance didn't drop for 4 years, your interest bill never dropped either. Meanwhile, on the personal loan, your principal is going down every single month from day one. That means your interest expense drops every month too, even though it started out much higher. By around year 3, the personal loan's monthly interest cost is already lower than the HELOCs, even with the higher rate, and the gap keeps widening from there. That's how a 10% HELOC can end up costing you just as much as a 16% personal loan. It's not the rate, it's what the rate is being applied to month after month after month. Here's the second layer to this that makes it even more important to pay attention to. Once the draw period ends, your HELOC converts into a prepayment period. That period can last 10 to 20 years, and now your payment has to cover both interest and principal. If you spend years making interest-only payments, that transition can hit hard. Your payment can more than double because the loan now has to amortize your full balance over the remaining term. Some HELOCs also carry a rate reset at the exact transition point, so you could be absorbing a payment jump and a rate change at the same time. The takeaway here isn't that HELOCs are bad, it's that the interest-only structure can quietly let you carry the same balance for years while feeling like you're making progress. If you're only making the minimum payments, you're going up the down escalator. You're moving, but you're not going anywhere. Now let's talk about the other side of that lower rate promise, because it isn't fixed. A HELOC's rate is typically priced at the prime rate plus a margin, usually around 0.5 to 1 percentage point. Prime moves at near lockstep with the federal funds rate. So when the Fed changes policy, your HELOC rate can reprice within a billing cycle or two. HELOC rates dropped through 2025 and into early 2026, down to around 7% by April, the lowest in years. Someone who opened a line during that low period might have gotten comfortable with a payment that assumes a rate that would stay low. Right now, the Fed's tone has shifted more hawkish, with several members leaning towards hikes rather than cuts. If that continues, the same balance could get noticeably more expensive with no action on your part at all. Compare that to a personal loan or a fixed home equity loan. Once you accept the loan, that rate is locked in for the life of the loan. Your payment doesn't move no matter what the Fed does next. Most HELOCs do have lifetime rate caps, but those rate caps are often set high enough, sometimes well into double digits, that they don't really protect you from a meaningful swing. They just prevent the absolute worst-case scenario. Before you compare a single rate, there is a bigger question to answer first, and it has nothing to do with the math. How comfortable are you putting your home on the line for this debt? If you default, you can lose the home, the same as with a primary mortgage. With an unsecured personal loan, there is no property attached to the loan at all. If you fall behind, you're looking at collections, credit damage, and potentially a lawsuit that could lead to wage garnishment. That is serious, but it isn't foreclosure. You don't lose your house. If you're not willing to risk your home or your income feels unstable right now, a personal loan can be the right call, even at a meaningfully higher rate. The damage from missing a payment to a personal loan stays contained in your credit. It doesn't blow up your house. You may have heard that HELOC interest is tax deductible. That's only true in specific situations. The interest is only deductible if you use the funds to substantially improve your home. Things like a roof replacement, a kitchen remodel, or an addition. Routine repairs and maintenance don't count. If you use a HELOC to consolidate credit card debt, the interest is definitely not deductible. It doesn't matter how low the rate is or how large the loan is. And even in the case where it is deductible, you'd have to itemize on your taxes rather than take the standard deduction, which most filers don't do anymore. So if a lower after-tax HELOC rate was part of the calculation for consolidating credit card debt specifically, that math likely doesn't apply to you. So how do you put all this together and decide whether a personal loan or a HELOC is what you should go for? Here's the order I'd walk through. First, answer the collateral risk question honestly. If putting your house on the line makes you uneasy, that alone may settle it in favor of a personal loan. Second, compare your actual rate quotes, not the published averages. Checking your rate with a lender doesn't affect your credit score, so it's worth getting real numbers from several lenders before deciding anything. Third, check how much usable equity you actually have. Lenders typically cap your combined loan to value around 80 to 85%, so a recent purchase or a large existing mortgage balance could limit how much HELOC you'd even qualify for. Fourth, be honest about your own repayment behavior. A personal loan is closed-end with a fixed payment and a fixed payoff date. A HELOC is revolving. If you aren't committed to paying off the principal, the HELOC structure could cause that debt to extend much longer than it would as a personal loan. And if that term extends much, once again, you're paying interest longer, which likely means paying a lot more interest. Fifth, run the total interest cost over your realistic payoff timeline, not just the headline rate and the fixed term. As we just walked through, the lower rate doesn't always win. And finally, consider which one is actually your strongest asset. If your credit score is strong, you may not need to put your home at risk to get a competitive rate. If your equity is strong but your credit is only fair, a HELOC might be your best or only realistic option. Before we wrap it up, it's worth mentioning that consolidating isn't automatically the right move for everyone. If your spending habits haven't actually changed, consolidating just resets the clock on the same problem. If you've consolidated before and it didn't work, or if you consolidated regularly, you could just be extending the life of your debt every single time. If you're regularly missing payments, you may not even get approved for either option. And if you sense a major life disruption coming, a job change, a divorce, business trouble, locking into a multi-year obligation could reduce your flexibility right when you need it most. In any of those situations, it may be worth talking to a credit counselor about debt management plans before restructuring your debt in any form. So to bring it all together, a HELOC's lower interest rate is real, but it isn't the whole story. How that rate gets applied, whether it is fixed, and how disciplined you are about paying down your principal all matter just as much as the number itself. If you decide an unsecured personal loan is the safer fit for your situation, the best next step is to see what rate you'd actually qualify for. At the Yukon project, you can check your rate with up to 40 lenders in one place, and comparing offers there won't affect your credit score. The link is in the description below. If this video helped you think through HELOC versus personal loan for your own debt consolidation, drop a comment and let me know which one you're leaning towards. And if you want other detailed information about financial topics, check our channel page or visit us at our website. Thanks for watching.